Winter in Austin wasn't like New York or Chicago. There was no thick snow on rooftops, no skin-cutting wind slicing through the streets. Just a kind of soft, gray chill, the kind that didn't make you shiver, but made you reach for a jacket anyway, as if to cover the quiet ache inside your chest. The city seemed dipped in a fine morning mist. Bare oak trees lined Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard, their branches stretching upward, like they were waiting for something that hadn't arrived. Houses were hushed. Cars moved slowly, deliberately. Everything felt like it was holding its breath. Cole Whitman sat behind the wheel of his charcoal-gray Tesla, eyes fixed on the stoplight ahead. The digital clock on the dashboard blinked. 7:42 a.m. He didn't speak. In the back seat, his 8-year-old daughter Emmy stared out the window, wrapped in a lavender coat, one small hand gently holding a worn-out stuffed rabbit. The car pulled into the parking lot of St. Mary's Cardiology Center, a sleek, glass-paneled building gleaming coldly under a sky the color of spilled milk. Cole stepped out, walked around the car, and gently opened the door. He lifted Emmy in his arms like she might dissolve if held too tightly. She was far too light, lighter than any 8-year-old should be. "Ready, sweetheart?" Cole asked softly. Emmy didn't answer. She just nodded and rested her head on his shoulder. Outside the hospital entrance, just past the revolving doors, sat an old reddish-brown upright piano. It looked like it didn't belong, like someone had mistakenly dropped a piece of soul into a world of numbers, charts, and surgical prep. On the bench sat a boy. He looked about 13. Brown hair, slightly messy, a dust-smudged face, a faded blue hoodie. His Adidas sneakers were worn down, edges fraying, streaked with old paint. His fingers moved across the keys, not to impress, not to perform, just to play. The melody was River Flows in You, soft and steady, flowing like moonlight down a quiet river. No crowd, no open case for money, just music, rising and falling in the still air. Cole slowed down, just for a moment. Not because of the song, but because of Emmy's eyes. For the first time in weeks, she wasn't staring at an EKG machine or counting ceiling tiles. She was watching him, the boy at the piano. "Daddy, who is that?" Emmy whispered. "Probably just some kid with too much time on his hands," Cole said briskly, picking up his pace. But just as they were about to pass him, the music stopped. Not because of a mistake, not because he was tired. The boy lifted his head, looked straight at Cole, and said, "Sir, I can make your daughter's heart feel better without surgery." His voice wasn't shaky. He didn't shout. There was no arrogance or craziness, just certainty, like he was stating something obvious. Cole froze. Not because he believed, but because he didn't know why he froze. He turned around, looked at the boy. The kid didn't flinch, didn't blink. There was nothing childish in those eyes. "Excuse me?" Cole asked. "I said I can help your daughter's heart feel better. No scalpels, no cutting." Cole looked him over. Circles under his eyes. A smudge of blue ink on his fingers. A pile of hand-drawn sheet music on the piano, scribbled in colored pencil. "Is this some kind of joke?" Cole muttered. "This is a cardiology center, not a street corner." "It's not a joke," the boy said calmly. "Music can heal. Not like a doctor, more like a person." Cole turned away and headed inside, pushing through the glass doors. But that voice, not persuasive, not desperate, just sure stuck to him like the scent of rain on an old sweater. The appointment went like every other one. Charts, numbers, checkups, quiet nods, and then the verdict from the specialist. "She's stable. Not worse, but not better either." Then the final line, "We have about 3 months left to prepare for surgery." Cole nodded. Emmy said nothing. As they stepped out of the exam room, she finally asked, "Daddy, can I listen to the piano a little longer?" Cole hesitated, but then he sighed and nodded. They returned to the lobby. The piano was still there. The boy was not. Only a small, folded piece of paper sat on the keys. Handwritten, calm and careful. "I play here every Monday, Wednesday, and Saturday morning. If the girl likes music, Let her listen. Sometimes the heart needs to be heard, not scanned. Liam. That night, after tucking Emmy into bed, Cole stood in the doorway for a long while. On the nightstand, her old bunny lay beside something new, the folded note from the piano. She had kept it, neatly, like it was treasure. Cole let out a breath. For the first time in months, he didn't open Google to research heart defects. He didn't scroll through medical journals. He didn't run another simulation. He just lay on the couch, head on a cushion, listening to River Flows in You play from the Bluetooth speaker on the shelf. Not to believe. Just to listen. That night, Cole couldn't sleep. Austin stayed quiet, as usual. On the living room wall, faint light from the street lamp bled through the blinds, casting crosshatch patterns like a roadmap of the chaos inside his mind. Every detail of the boy, the frayed sneakers, the faded hoodie, those steady eyes played on repeat. Not because he believed, but because he couldn't dismiss it. He opened his laptop, typed in, "Piano Boy, St. Mary's Hospital, Austin." Nothing. No name. No pictures. No GoFundMe links. Just nothing. A shadow with no trail. A.G. The next morning was Wednesday. Emmy ate her scrambled eggs and toast quietly. She didn't say much, but Cole noticed something in her eyes, a flicker of waiting, like she was hoping he'd say something, but was too polite to ask. At 8:05 a.m., instead of heading straight to work, Cole turned the car towards St. Mary's, and there he was. Same hoodie, same old piano. This time, the boy was playing Comptine d'un autre été by Jan Tiersen, each note gentle, precise, so full of emotion it didn't feel played. It felt spoken. Cole stood there longer. When the last note faded, the boy looked up, not surprised, as if he'd known Cole would return. "Is the girl okay?" he asked, without getting up. "She needs heart surgery. 3 months. Cole's hand tightened slightly on his bag strap. "And you're not a doctor?" The boy nodded. "I know. I'm Liam, 13. I'm not a doctor. I learned from my mom." "She a doctor?" "A nurse. Music therapy. She played piano in patient rooms for 10 years. For seniors, for kids, for people dying." Cole blinked. Liam's eyes dropped slightly. "She passed away 6 months ago. Aortic aneurysm. Pain lasted maybe 2 minutes. Nothing anyone could do." A long silence followed. "After that, I didn't really have a home anymore, but I kept playing here. I thought, if music could help someone one more time, maybe my mom's still nearby." Cole said nothing. He wasn't good at responding to emotion, especially from a kid. Liam continued, voice steady. "I can't promise to fix a heart, but I do know this: when people are afraid, their heartbeat goes wild. Anxiety makes the rhythm messy. Slow music can reverse that." "You read that online?" "I lived at the public library for 3 months after my mom died. Free internet." Liam shrugged. Like that was just normal life. Cole felt his throat tighten. "Music's like white noise, you know, like the sound that calms babies, except this has melody." He paused, then added, "Music won't fix the heart, but it calms the fear that makes it worse." Another stretch of silence. Long, tense. Then, "Are you in school?" Cole asked. Liam shook his head. "No papers, no guardian. I'm kind of in between." "In between?" "Not technically homeless, but not exactly found either." Cole left without another word. But that afternoon, when he picked Emmy up from school, she asked something that nearly made him slam the brakes. "Daddy, Liam played Comptine today, right? You know that piece? I heard it in a French movie once. I remember every note. I love it." Cole looked at her in the rearview mirror. Her eyes sparkled, cheeks slightly pink. He couldn't remember the last time his daughter showed real emotion like that. End quote. Saturday, 10 a.m. Emmy lay on the sofa, wrapped in her red foxprint blanket. Her wide, dark eyes stared through the living room window. Cole stood by the kettle, glancing at the clock. He shouldn't remember, but his hand instinctively flipped the calendar page. Saturday, 10 a.m., the time he'd said out loud. He wasn't sure if it had been a dare or an invitation. At 10:01, the doorbell rang. Cole opened it. Liam stood there. Hoodie folded neatly, hair brushed in a makeshift way. Holding a cloth tote bag inside were a small speaker, some printed sheets, and a thin book titled Music Therapy and Pediatric Healing. Cole stepped aside. No questions, no judgment, just space. The living room was bathed in soft morning light. Emmy sat up when she saw Liam, and she smiled. For the first time, Cole saw a real smile, not the polite one she used on doctors or nurses, but a smile that puffed her cheeks, curved her eyes like crescent moons. "Hi, Emmy," Liam said gently. "Are you going to teach me piano today?" she asked, hopeful. "Not today. Today, we're just going to listen. We start with listening." He placed the speaker on the table. Claire de Lune began to play soft drops of moonlight landing on invisible leaves. "Close your eyes," Liam instructed. "Breathe in for 3 seconds. Hold for 2. Breathe out for 4. Let the music guide you." Emmy followed his rhythm. Her little chest rose and fell. The music swirled around them, and for a moment the room itself seemed to exhale. Cole stood back, one hand resting on the chair's edge. He felt something shift inside. Not belief, but not resistance either. He didn't want to break the spell. When the song ended, Emmy opened her eyes slowly. "Can you play Claire de Lune for real?" she asked. Liam nodded. "If you want to hear it." Cole almost stepped in. He wasn't ready for anything real. But then he saw Emmy's face. She was still smiling. He didn't want to steal that moment from her. Liam pulled a small keyboard from his bag, set it on the coffee table, and began to play. Each note was soft, like waves brushing the shore. And Emmy started to hum. Her voice was light, delicate, threading itself through the melody like silk. Cole walked out to the porch. He needed air. But deep down, he knew. What had just happened in that room was not random. Before Liam left, Cole walked him to the door. No conversation. Just a nod. "If you want to waste your time," Cole said, "be here next Saturday, 10 o'clock. Liam didn't smile. He didn't need to. He just nodded and, without a word, pulled a pencil from his hoodie pocket and drew a small heart on his thumbnail. "My mom used to do that," he said quietly. To remind herself, she helped someone breathe a little easier today. Cole didn't respond, but his eyes lingered on that little heart, faint, smudged, but real. The following Saturday, Austin felt grayer than usual. The sky was laced with wool-colored clouds, like knotted yarn across a pale ceiling. A breeze stirred through the bare oak trees, whispering along their lifeless limbs. Cole stood at the kitchen window, a mug of lukewarm coffee in hand, staring out at the street. He wasn't exactly waiting, but somehow he still was. At exactly 10:00 a.m., the doorbell rang. Liam stood there, same cloth bag, same worn sneakers, same calm stride. But this time, he carried something new. A pair of oversized headphones and an old Sony voice recorder with faded paint and chipped edges. Cole raised an eyebrow. "A recorder?" "Yeah. So Emmy can listen anytime she wants. Not to practice. Just to remember how the good moments felt." And that session began quietly. Emmy sat cross-legged on the soft blue cloud-patterned rug in the living room, her coloring book open to a page titled The Enchanted Forest. Crayons spilled around her like candy. Liam sat nearby, looping Gymnopédie No. 1 by Eric Satie through a small speaker. No one talked much. The music did the talking. Cole sat with the newspaper, or tried to. He didn't read a word. His eyes kept drifting toward Emmy. She was coloring a golden fox against a snowy background. No shaking hands, no fidgeting, no cold sweat creeping down her temples like before. After an hour, as Liam was packing up, Emmy looked up and asked softly, "Can you record this one?" Liam nodded, flipped on the recorder, and quietly let the music fill the mic. He didn't say anything else. Just captured the stillness. Week 2. Liam brought a handwritten sheet of a simple children's song, "You Are My Sunshine," sketched in pencil, with a tiny heart drawn in the corner. "My mom used to teach this to little kids who were scared of needles," Liam said. "It doesn't need a loud voice, just feeling." Emmy tried singing. At first, just a whisper. Second time, her voice came out a little stronger. By the chorus, she smiled and sang clearly, "You are my sunshine, my only sunshine." Cole didn't know what tightened in his throat. He couldn't name it. But in that moment, his heart beat faster than any monitor he'd ever read. Week 3. Emmy woke from her afternoon nap with a dry shirt. No damp spots, no cold sweats, no shallow breathing. Cole found out as he was folding her blanket and stood there for a long second, holding it in both hands. First time in months. He didn't believe it was coincidence. He started documenting things. Blood pressure, nighttime heart rate, how often she woke from dreams. Everything was improving. That week at St. Mary's, Cole met with Emmy's longtime cardiologist, Dr. Reina Morales, the same physician who had been tracking Emmy's heart since she was 5. They met in a small consultation room lined with medical diagrams and too many blinking monitors. Dr. Morales placed the latest chart down on the table and tapped the graph with her pen. "The metrics are improving," she said calmly. "Not enough to cancel the surgery, but worth noting." "What do you mean?" "I'm not recommending any changes to the treatment plan yet. But whatever environmental, emotional, or other positive influences have occurred recently, if they continue, we may be able to delay surgery further. And with children, every week we gain gives the heart a better chance to heal naturally." Cole didn't reply. But in his head, the boy's words returned not loudly, but like a warm echo. Music won't fix the heart, but it calms the fear that makes it worse. And at the next session, Liam opened up more about his mother. He usually didn't. But that afternoon, rain tapped lightly on the windows, and something in the air made space for softness. "My mom used to say, people heal when they feel safe. Music makes them feel safe." Cole, slicing banana bread fresh from the oven, paused mid-cut. "She used to sing at the end of her shifts. Even if the patients couldn't respond," she said. "Some things don't need ears to hear. Hearts have their own kind of ears." And later that day, Cole stood beside Liam and Emmy in the living room. For the first time, he didn't sit off to the side. For the first time, he asked, "Can I help?" He started baking every weekend. He didn't say much while he did it. But when Emmy asked, "Daddy, what flavor is this one?" Cole would answer, "Tastes like the day you sang your first note." And one day, Liam brought a roll-up keyboard, the soft kind you could lay across any table. Emmy tapped the keys, clumsy but thrilled. Cole pulled up a chair beside her and gently corrected her hands. "That's C. This one's D. You know how to play, Daddy?" Emmy asked. "Your mom taught me Happy Birthday once. I don't remember the notes. I just remember her hand on mine." The room went still. Liam didn't look up, but Cole knew he heard. And one Sunday, as Liam packed up, Cole stood at the door. He looked at the boy, hesitating a moment. "How many people have you done this for?" "No one." "Then why Emmy?" Liam paused. "She was the first person to look at me like I was just a kid." Cole nodded. Nothing more needed to be said. Emmy began leaving little drawings by the piano. One time, it was a purple heart. Another time, a note in lopsided handwriting. "Liam is like medicine, but he doesn't poke you." One said, "When I get all better, I want to stand on a stage with you." Liam folded each one like a lucky star and kept them in his pocket. And Cole used to walk through a silent house. Now, every room had music. Banana bread in the oven. And sometimes, not always, but sometimes laughter. No one had said thank you yet. No one had said you saved my daughter. But everything had changed. Not because anyone tried to, but because music had made everything just a little softer. That Saturday morning, the skies over Austin hung lower than usual. The wind threaded its way through the bare oak trees like a whisper in a forgotten language. In the kitchen, Cole poured milk into Emmy's cereal bowl and glanced at the clock. 9:57 a.m. From the living room, Liam's recording of You Are My Sunshine played softly from the little speaker he'd left the week before. Emmy sat on the couch, her honey-wave hair pulled into a low-side ponytail just the way her mother used to do it. She hugged a small floral pillow to her chest, eyes locked on the front door. "Daddy, is Liam late?" "No, sweetheart. He's probably just caught in traffic. He's always on time, isn't he?" Cole wasn't sure if he was reassuring Emmy or himself. 10:20 a.m. Emmy hadn't touched her cereal. The spoon had long since sunk into the soggy milk. The music was still playing, but it didn't feel the same. Not without him. 10:45 a.m. Emmy's breathing changed. Faster. Shallow. Her skin had gone pale. Cole noticed immediately he didn't need a monitor. After years of caring for a child with a weak heart, he'd learned to read the tiniest signs. "Emmy, are you okay?" She shook her head. One hand clutched her chest. She didn't cry, but fear flooded her eyes. Cole lifted her gently, carried her to her bed, and grabbed the pulse oximeter. Heart rate, 134 BPM. Too high, too dangerous. He reached for his phone to call the doctor, but Emmy's trembling voice stopped him. "Daddy, did Liam leave me?" And just like that, Cole couldn't breathe. And that afternoon, once Emmy had stabilized and fallen asleep, Cole walked out the front door without saying a word. He drove straight to St. Mary's in Sis, his mind foggy, his hands gripping the steering wheel harder than necessary. Inside him, something churned not just fear, but betrayal. He had let himself believe. He had trusted the boy. And now, just when that trust had taken root, Liam had disappeared? He refused to believe that. He parked and walked to the front entrance, the place with the old piano. Empty. A lone nurse sat on the bench nearby, eating her lunch. "Have you seen the kid who plays piano here, Liam?" She shook her head. Not for almost a week. Cole silenced the excuses spinning in his mind. He had to find Liam. Not to blame him, but because someone had to. And that night, while cleaning up the living room, Cole noticed a backpack in the corner. Liam had forgotten it. Inside were only a few simple items: a ripped music book, a pair of carefully folded wool socks, a tin pencil box full of colored crayons, and a folded note. It read, "Bus stop off, Ben White Blived, near Hillcrest." Cole pulled up the map. It was a long abandoned stop at the far southern edge of Austin, barely marked on GPS. The wind outside had picked up. He grabbed his keys. By 10 p.m., Cole's car rolled to a stop under the dim glow of a leaning street lamp. The Route 34 sign hung crooked, rust eating through its bolts. The bus shelter stood like a ghost-rusted bench, mossy walls, graffiti scraped off half-heartedly. Then he saw it. A faint yellow glow flickering behind a concrete pillar. Cole approached slowly, trying not to scare anyone. And then he saw Liam. The boy was curled in a tattered sleeping bag, hoodie pulled over his head, one arm wrapped tightly around his Sony recorder. The flashlight beside him flickered weakly, its battery on the edge of dying. Cole crouched down. He didn't speak for a moment, just took it in. The boy who had made his daughter laugh, who had taught her how to breathe, was sleeping here, alone, in the cold, forgotten. Liam. Liam startled. His eyes snapped open, wide with panic. I didn't steal anything, I just... Easy. It's me, Cole." Silence fell like snowfall. Liam sat up, instinctively pulling the sleeping bag around himself like armor. "I didn't want to lose my chance to help Emmy, so I didn't say anything." "Didn't say anything?" Cole's voice rose, tight with fear. "She almost ended up in the hospital because you didn't show." Regret stabbed through him instantly. Liam looked down. "I got evicted. Landlord said he couldn't keep letting me stay without Mom. I had nowhere to go. Just the backpack and the piano. But I figured, if I told you, maybe you wouldn't let me see her again. Cole said nothing. He lowered himself to Liam's eye level. You think I care about the piano? No answer. Cole exhaled, trying to steady his voice. You didn't just play music. You made my daughter smile. Really smile for the first time in months. You calmed her heart. You made me believe in something again. Something you can't track on a chart. His throat caught. You're not a miracle. You're a kid. And kids shouldn't be sleeping at bus stops in the cold. Liam looked up, eyes red, but he didn't cry. You don't know me. I don't know if I'm worth it. Cole placed a hand on his shoulder. You don't have to earn anything. You just have to say yes. Come home with me. And oh. That night, in the car, Liam fell asleep in the passenger seat. Cole glanced over at him. The boy's face had softened as if he was sleeping without the fear of being told to leave. And oh. When they reached the house, Emmy was still awake. She sat under the blanket on the couch, eyes wide with worry. But when she saw Liam, she leapt out and threw her arms around him. Liam? Where did you go? Liam blinked in surprise, then smiled gently, placing a hand on her head. Somewhere, not so fun, but I'm okay now. Cole stood behind them and spoke softly. Emmy, starting today, Liam's going to stay with us, in the room next to yours. Emmy nodded eagerly, no questions asked. Cole turned to Liam. Don't feel like a guest. Liam hesitated. I'll help clean. Do chores I can. You'll be part of this home. No debt, no trade. And oh. That night, for the first time in months, the guest room lights were on. Liam placed his old recorder on the small side table. Next to it, he set down a folded piece of paper, Emmy's purple heart drawing. He exhaled. A full breath. One that didn't catch in the middle. One that felt whole. The first morning, Liam woke up in a real bed. It took him a few seconds to realize he wasn't at a bus stop anymore. Soft sunlight filtered through the gray striped curtains. On the small wooden nightstand sat his scratched-up tape recorder, a tin pencil box, and a photo hastily taped up of Emmy grinning beside him during last week's piano session. Cole must have printed it. Clear tape across the corners. Liam got out of bed, stepped softly down the hallway. In the kitchen, Cole stood at the counter, hair tousled, coffee brewing in the background, a typical Sunday scene. Morning, Liam. Morning, Cole. No more sir. No more distance. Whatever line had once existed between them was gone now. Since Liam moved in, Emmy had blossomed like a wildflower after rain. Each morning, she woke up bright-eyed, asking for her favorite tune, Sunlight Song, a simple piano melody Liam composed to help her breathe deeply and slowly. Cole still tracked her vitals like a ritual, heart rate, blood pressure, sleep patterns. But now, those numbers no longer clawed at his chest. They'd softened like he had. One morning, after reviewing a home EKG scan, Cole stared at the monitor in silence. Then, his hand drifted toward the phone. Dr. Cranford, I'd like to postpone Emmy's surgery. Are you certain, Mr. Whitman? We've already booked the place. I know, but she's okay. She's eating, sleeping, laughing, playing piano. Her heart's not just working. It's happy. She's calm, peaceful. I haven't seen that since her mother died. On the other end, silence. Then, I understand. Let's monitor her closely. But I agree. Sometimes what the body needs most isn't medicine, it's a reason to keep going. On Sunday afternoons, Liam started bringing his roll-up keyboard to the Brentwood Senior Center. At first, it was Cole's idea. They've got an old upright piano. No one's touched it in 2 years. Do they have an audience? They have emptiness, and a quiet song might fill it. Liam agreed. There, he met Mr. Morrison, a retired Navy vet with short-term memory loss. When Liam played Autumn Leaves, the man clapped wildly. That's my wife's favorite. Kid, you just took me back to 1974. Liam smiled. Music doesn't fix everything, but sometimes it takes people back to where they felt most alive. Um, Back at home, Emmy began learning piano herself. Liam didn't start with notes or scales. Instead, he drew colorful circles on the keys. Red is sunshine, blue is a raindrop, yellow is a bird. Press them in that order, and you get Emmy's Morning. She did, slowly, hesitantly, but each time she played, she beamed as if the melody lived inside her already. Cole, once a distant observer, now stayed in the kitchen every evening just to listen, washing dishes slower than necessary, letting each note soak in. By the end of the month, St. Mary's Hospital announced a small community concert as part of their Art Heals initiative, an event where young patients could perform alongside volunteers. Dr. Cranford personally visited the Whitman home. "We'd love for Emmy to play, and, if possible, Liam could MC. He's done more than most of us thought possible." Cole looked at Liam. The boy flushed, tugging at the sleeve of his hoodie. "I've never talked in front of people. You don't have to be fancy. Just do what you always do. Play, and speak from the heart." And the concert began at 4 p.m. in the third-floor auditorium. Twinkle lights strung across the ceiling. Folding chairs lined up in rows. Doctors, nurses, parents, and a few patients filled the seats. Liam stepped onto the stage, white button-up shirt slightly too big, hair combed, tied around his wrist, a piece of lavender fabric the last sleeve from his mother's nursing uniform. He looked around, took a deep breath. "Hi, I'm Liam. Someone once told me, people don't remember notes. They remember how they felt when they heard them. So today, I hope you feel what Emmy gave to me. Hope." He sat down, nodded to the wing. Emmy walked out, wearing a white dress with polka dots, hair braided, soft beige shoes tapping lightly on the stage. The hall quieted. Liam played the first few chords warm and gentle. Emmy placed her small hands on the keyboard. She hesitated, then played. Not perfect, but real. The sound drifted over the audience, delicate and human. A nurse wiped her eyes. Dr. Cranford was the first to clap. Then the entire room stood up. Cole stood near the back, silent. His heart didn't pound from panic anymore. It beat gently, like it had finally put down the backpack of grief and picked up a song. He looked at Liam, no longer the boy in the hoodie, no longer the mystery, just a kid, gripping that lavender ribbon, eyes calm, steady. For the first time, peace. That night, the three of them sat in the living room, each holding a paper cup of vanilla ice cream. Emmy leaned in close and whispered, "Daddy, I think my heart likes music more than medicine." Cole chuckled softly. "I think you're right." Liam lowered his gaze, then gently pressed the red button on his recorder. His voice was quiet, only for the three of them. Sometimes, healing doesn't start in a hospital. It starts in a song and in someone who believes.